For you folks who don't know, anybody travel with us before Shoreline Tours? So we're kind of new on the block here. Last fall, we did the South Dakota trip and had a couple handfuls of people here from here, which was our first time. So I'll give you a 30-second background. Canadian, almost from the same little small town as where Danielle's from. So, Amherstburg, Ontario. But I've been, putting these tours together, working with retiree centers for 40 years. So I develop these tours, travel on them to make sure we know what we're doing come showtime. And we like doing nice things. So whatever tour you pick, I'll kind of hit on a little bit about the hotel accommodations. We don't have to stay at 5-star places. You know, we can stay at nice 3- and 4-star places. So I'll talk a little bit about the activity level because we get that question all the time, and we started putting something like this on the back of our brochures, but we missed them on a couple other ones. Because people, one of the first questions is how much walking, how active is it, and so on. So I'll tell you that live instead of on this brochure. But we are known for doing first-class tours. And I don't mean 5-star, but I mean, tours that are well thought out, hotels in good locations, dining that is, quite nice, no buffets for dinner, choice of menus and so on. So I travel the country kind of putting these things together. So here's the game plan. Visual presentations on Utah's Mighty Five, Finger Lakes. And a quick one on our Capital Christmas tour. We're not gonna go in any specific order. This Halloween on the Hudson River Valley, we just came back from, it's still up till recently was being massaged after my visit. Because we have a couple other tours that are doing it in a little different fashion. So we're a small company. And we work hard and we like to do nice things. One thing to talk about before we get any farther, you'll notice on here if this cancellation protection, we don't use a third-party provider for our insurance. That's been the case for 100 years. That may change, but for now, it's worked very well for our travelers, for peace of mind. Reason why, a lot of times on these tours, so I just came from Maumee. We have on Halloween, we may have 15 groups on this tour to fill 48 seats. And then we don't know how our crystal ball is foggy on some of this stuff. This thing will sell out. Other tours, our batting average is really, really good. But my point is, I know we're only in February, so we have one tour of Halloween sold out, about 20 seats. So let's call it 28 seats left on this tour. So we have it out to 14 groups or so. So if we're doing this presentation in April, it may not be available. I'm not asking you to sign up today. That's not the whole drill here. But if you're planning ahead, this cancellation is, you don't have to have a doctor's note. You can let the ladies know here that you can't go. We're asking you to plan far ahead on some cases, on a lot of these tours. So it's just like, and insurance companies sometimes they get a lot of small print and stuff. So for now, that has worked very well for our travelers. Consider it if you are deciding on any of these tours.
So can you explain that cancellation?
Yeah, so basically which tour are you looking at?
Utah.
So on Utah, whatever that cancellation, I don't have that brochure in my hand. So it'd be, if you wanted cancellation interruption protection, in other words, you buy that as additional cost to your tour. It's like buying it from a third-party provider insurance company. And you cannot go right up to the last day of the tour, you get all your money back. Besides the waiver cost, besides what it costs there.
They
Nope.
all their money back.
Yeah,
Except for the $400.
except for whatever that insurance costs, correct? So, I would consider that. We say that we want your deposit, your insurance money with your deposit. And it is, it's several months away, but, that's your own decision as to when you want to, if that's of interest, if that's the tour you want to register for. But it has worked out very well for our travelers, which was the initial point of this whole thing. That you don't have to provide reasons why. Just tell your leadership here. Yeah.
Push right up there, so I'm like, oh, can you check it? Here. Try it now.
So, did this room get darker a little bit? Even if it was a one night?
Is that okay?
Yeah. So you folks may be here for one or two of these, or maybe just to get an introduction from us. So I'll show these. They're not gonna be 20-minute presentations on each one. I have PowerPoint on this, PowerPoint on Finger Lakes, and a little short story for that. Our Capital Christmas Tour, I'll give you a little quick rundown of that. So I'll do some explaining where necessary. But, so Utah Mighty Five might be not only us, any other tour company out there, arguably most scenic trip in the country. And there's some beautiful places. These national parks, if you've been to some of them, you'll know. If you haven't, there's some bucket list territory, some of them. So we're flying into Denver. What we used to do with this tour years ago is we used to take the train right from Chicago all the way to Utah. Although it was very cost effective, it was, the train travel is popular. Maybe not the 30 or 35-hour rides with up and down bunks and so on. So we've condensed that to the most scenic part of this journey. And the most scenic part of the journey is once we get to Denver, going out to Grand Junction through the Colorado Rockies and the Glenwood Canyon. And it becomes, if you look at the brochure, it becomes one of the reasons why this California Zephyr is one of the top train trips, that stretch in the world. Now we get that language, not from me, but we could very easily say maybe one of the top in the country for sure. The world is a big world, but it's stunning. So I'll just give you some little visuals of, now this is an 8-hour ride. So 8 o'clock in the morning, depart from Denver. We're staying downtown Denver, stone's throw from the Amtrak station. California Zephyr is one of the big superliners that run out there. And then this is an 8-hour kind of visual of what you're gonna enjoy through Glenwood Canyon and the upper part of the Colorado Rockies. Now, Grand Junction for a night, True Hotel. You'll enjoy our choice of hotel. True is a Hilton brand. It's not the 4-star Hilton, but it's a one level down where it's where we don't have to spend crazy money that some of these hotels are charging you. COVID changed the world. So this is where we're selective, and you can just tell how modern it is. You'll like it. You'll enjoy our choice. Now we're on the bus, so the rest of this is by bus, so air one way, of course, train for 8 hours and then by bus, and then, so we're heading out to a little town called Moab. And this is some of the scenery along the way around the Colorado National Monument and Rimrock Drive, and we're gonna take our bus up there, it's scenic. If you have a little stomach thing, sit on the inside, don't sit by the window, 'cause Dead Horse Store, and this, now we start picking up guides here. So Horse Point State Park, that's not a national park, you know, but the national parks are to come. This is just some of the memorable scenery, if you will, that are a stone's throw from one of the national parks being Canyonlands. Canyonlands is a drive, much like we'll do Bryce later on, or Grand Canyon, where it's a scenic rim drive with various photo stops throughout with a guide. Then these are just some visuals of Canyonlands. Well, I've been at this 40 years. This Red Cliffs Lodge, so back here, that's a couple thousand feet, that those red rock formations and they surround this lodge. So we talk about it as argued maybe being the most memorable place we've stayed. Out of all the places we stayed in the country, we don't do Europe. Because you could stay, they have a little town of Moab where there's a Hampton Inn and a Holiday Inn Express. And then we go to this, and it's just a totally different level. Very nice dining, scenery. Terrific. And it's staying in a lodge that these private owners, purchased and turned this landscape into a remote lodge. And that's just some of the surroundings. Colorado, parts of the Colorado River kind of run through it, so. And then Arches, I'll come back to the lodge in a minute too. Arches National Park. 2,000 of these naturally formed arches. Literally kind of scattered throughout the park. With our guide as well. This is in the hotels. They did a lot of filming of Western movies way back, John Wayne and some of the other bigger names. This is all part of staying there. There's no additional cost. We just take the elevator and walk downstairs. Everybody does it. There's got some interesting movie scripts there and memorabilia and so on. They also have a winery there, which is free. So we'll make sure we fit in some time for that and point you in the right direction for the wineries if you like. This will be a highlight. It's called Canyonlands by Night cruise. So we go for kind of a casual dinner. So we have an afternoon at that lodge. We have an afternoon, about 3 hours, maybe a little bit more free. So, and that's time purposely to give you time there. If you happen to be interested or do this tour, you'll know why we want to give you some downtime just to enjoy it, and it's so pretty. Then we come back and do this. So it's a boat cruise that all these sheer granite cliffs that surround the area are all illuminated, and they do an evening illumination light show. To music on these little flat boats. We're going in September, maybe the best month of the year to travel. Kids are back in school. There's a lot of reasons why September is popular for us age. And these are just some shots too of the canyon walls around Capitol Reef. We don't physically go into Capitol Reef. We're coming from Moab now to Kanab, which is kind of the gateway to Bryce and Zion. So this day is beautiful as well. And so we, through the Grand Escalante and Capitol Reef National Park, this is an all-day bus ride now to get to a little part, other part of Moab, Utah. They call the Grand Staircase, and it's some of the views you'll see as we motor coach from one little town in Utah to another. Holiday Inn Express, and now we're Bryce. Bryce is another one of these rim drives, much like Canyonlands was, and also what Grand Canyon is as well. So there's some really bizarre landscape here. either the largest or the only non-kill animal shelter in the country. And they'll take us for a nice little heartwarming look behind the scenes of a place called Best Friends Animal Society. And you'll see any kind of animal you can think of. Zion, maybe my favorite, Zion is done on the trolley tram tour down the valley floor, so the other ones are on the kind of rim drive. Zion's done on a tram, outdoor kind of tram tour. And we'll give you a little bit of free time after that to kind of walk around and do, there's little, they call them hikes, but you don't have to, they're moderate, they're easy you're not gonna do. And we'll give you a little bit idea how to spend another extra hour in Zion. It's stunning. There's your tram tour. And you'll likely see these rock climbers that are, they're that big on when you're looking at them because of the distance but it's summit churning that some of them do it without any apparatus, straight up, just freehand. These are some of the little hikes in the back. The Virgin River Gorge, I only got a couple pictures of this. We're on our way back to the Vegas area where we'll fly out of. But the Virgin River Gorge is at one time, not sure now, it was the most expensive stretch of highway built in America because of blasting through the mountains. This is by bus, 20 minutes of pretty scenery. Like, I don't want to I gotta be real careful what incredible is, because some people, you know what I mean, don't think it is special. We're not staying in Vegas on this tour. Originally, we were going to, big convention, $300 and some odd a night for a hotel. So we used to stay here all the time. It's called Casablanca, and Mesquite's a small little gaming town, an hour and change out of Vegas. So we're gonna stay here. You'll get us in a little earlier. Sometimes the chaos of Vegas can be a little too much for some. And then it also gives us a chance to see the Valley Fire State Park before we hit the airport for our ride home. Okay, now I'm not going in any order. I'm gonna jump to Christmas. I know Christmas just got done, but
I just have a quick question, for the national parks, like we have the passports, do we need passports if we do that?
the passes to get an actual passport,
We have a passport that lets us free
in the
in
parks.
every national park.
Yeah,
Don't
so
need that, that's all.
no, you don't need it. And bringing it is not gonna get you anything. You'd have to do that privately,
Okay.
personally,
All right,
to take advantage of the membership.
thank you.
No fee. Okay. Jumping around here, but we're here for travel, so
Oops, sorry.
that's good. So there's only really a couple handful of places that are really like for Christmas time. Over the years, this has been the most popular Christmas tour we do. I'll tell you why as we go. It's really one big factor that we include that I've not seen anybody else do. Not saying that the other companies around don't, but basically it's the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts Christmas NCO Pops concert, which is the big leagues. So let me go through. I'll tell you a little bit more about why this. So Cambridge, but I'm not sure how far Cambridge is from here, but it's probably not that far. That's our first overnight. They have a Dickens themed holiday Christmas, where they have about 180 or 190 of these figurines throughout the town. You may have been there. And they have a lot of interesting things that are Christmas Depending what time we get in, there's some other attractions that we may do, and they're not, I mean, like the candy thing and, but the main theme of this particular place is the Dickens theme that are decorated throughout the town and dinner with the Queen. So we're going, so this first person portrayal of Queen Anne. Do I have that right? Queen, no, not Queen.
Victoria.
Queen Victoria. First person portrayal, so basically it's dinner and an interactive experience with Queen Victoria telling her life in England. And it's neat, anytime we can kind of do these little interactive things. Now we're in Washington, and here's where this accommodation thing comes in again. Because Washington DC could be, if it's not worse than New York City, it's just for traffic. The last thing we want to do is be going out of town 10 miles to fight to keep going back and forth. That's why these hotel locations, especially in the big cities that we're staying, important. So we have 2 tours going. One is at the Residence Inn, which I'll show you. The other was at the Courtyard by Marriott, both adjoined right downtown. That way you'll see if you're going, because Washington, with the traffic and everything, this is predominantly on a weekend too. That's done on purpose as well. So the theaters on the weekends, less traffic on the weekends. So Residence Inn and Courtyard by Marriott. Once again, very modern. You'll enjoy our choice of hotels and location. Some of the Christmas scenes as we tour DC, so we tour DC by day and by night. So you get to see the memorials illuminated in the evening and the Christmas presentations that they're doing. The national tree. And so I'm gonna go through these rather quick. These are the memorials that we'll see with the guide, of course. Different times of the day. We'll visit and tour the cathedral, Washington Cathedral. And then a couple dinners. So the dinner we usually have here is Carmine's, big Italian restaurant. They have one in New York. They have them all over. Really nice food, and we go see Christmas Carol. We order these seats so far in advance. If I'm doing my job right, you have top-notch seats. And inside theater and the show, I think people are familiar with the Christmas Carol. Christmas in Mount Vernon, this is a highlight as well. You'll have a guided tour of the home. It's not very long, but the grounds are expansive and there's lots to do on these grounds. Our tour director, we will also give you a little heads up with your final itinerary, the lay of the land there, so you can best spend your time. And there's walking. Okay, so this tour would be if I go one, because the one brochure we have, they're all 1 through 5. This would be 3. Now it's winter time. And there's a 1/8 of a mile walk up to Mount Vernon. There's something to keep in mind. Then there's walking around the grounds. So if you want to experience it all in the allotted time, which is, we'll give you a lot, 3 or 4 hours, maybe 4 with lunch. The outbuildings, so here's where we pray there's not a foot of snow on the ground. And it's like, I was in Florida, but it was like 60 degrees here last week on a day or 2.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be hoping that for. But Christmas in Mount Vernon is pretty much a must when we're going out this time of the year. So we'll give you a lot more direction there as to how to enjoy it. And this is the highlight. This is where our kind of uniqueness comes in. Very nice dinner, just around the corner from the Kennedy Center. And then main floor orchestra seats for the NCO Pops concert. They usually have a headliner with it. The tickets aren't even out yet. So it's, but it's a really memorable experience. Okay, so I got one more. So man, I'll talk about one while we're. Yeah. Okay. Now this Halloween on the Hudson River Valley is, I'm not gonna show you pretty pictures of it because I don't have them yet. This tour has been manipulated, moved around and shuffled around. There's tons of things to do in the Hudson River Valley. Fall color, we always try to do a fall color tour every year, and they're very popular as well. Weather nicer, the whole drill. The first thing on this thing, if we go to 1 to 5 in that activity level, 4. So just keep that in mind. Okay? Some of these mansions, that's where the castles of New York come in. At Kykuck, which is Rockefeller, Lyndhurst, which is one of the iconic estates in America on the Hudson River. There's walking involved in these tours. You don't have to do it all. There are chairs, but if you want to do it all, heads up, there's some walking. So I'm going to hit some of this just kind of narratively. The FDR Presidential Library Museum, self-guided, couple hours. You know more I do, I'm Canadian, so with FDR and his role, Millbrook Winery is a lovely setting, and the Hudson River Valley is not really known for wineries because there's so many other things, but there are some really unique wineries. This is one of them. Culinary Institute of America. They call it the CIA experience, which is 2 students in a kind of a classroom setting, talking about life on the campus of the world's finest culinary college. There's a ton of stuff to do around there. This could be 12 days. And there's a little kind of a tasting experience just for educational purposes. But the 2 students that we had when we were just there this past fall, it was a nice component to end the day. The boat cruise on the Hudson River, if we get some fall, Mother Nature cooperates. The backdrop from the boat cruise, the backdrop from Kykuck, which is Rockefeller Center, backdrop from Lyndhurst, which these are estates on the water, in the Hudson River right there. The backdrop of the Hudson River is, if it's colorful, it just makes it in place. So we talked about Kykuck. Now Kykuck's got an upstairs too. All this will come out in your final itinerary. I believe there's 26 steps up to the 2nd level. You don't have to do it, but it's more informative if you do. Just a note. Okay, now this great pumpkin blaze. So I don't have to have pictures to show this, because when I show pictures of Christmas lights, some of these things they get kind of skewed with, they're not as dazzling as they are if you see them live. So there's great pumpkin blaze. First of all, it's evening. Secondly, we're working on, if they'll allow us, some kind of illumination to get around. Now, it's not dangerous by no means. There's on weekends, 6,000 people a night come to this thing. So times that over the month, they're into the hundreds of thousands of people that come to see this thing. So what it is artisans are there on site almost around the clock, because some of these live pumpkins, there's 7,000 of them. that are all made up in these steam displays scattered throughout this 18th century village. It'll take you an hour and 15 minutes to leisurely walk through it. It's flat surfaces. But it's dark. There's the illumination of the pumpkins alone, will illuminate the place, but they have one that is the Statue of Liberty. It might be 25, 30 feet tall, made out of pumpkins. So if I show you some of these, if I did have it, we're not done yet, they would look this big. Well, they might be twice size ceiling or more. When the pumpkins rot, that's why these artisans are fully engaged all the time, because after a few days, some of them may rot, they'll replace them. It's, if you're into any kind of art at all, it's total amazement, really, of what they put on here. And at one time in 2013, the Hudson River Valley was voted as one of the top 20 places to live in the world, or to visit in the world. So this pumpkin blaze is hard to describe without having you like right in the middle of seeing it all. It's Legend of Sleepy Hollow. If you ever go on YouTube, there's a fellow by the name of Jonathan Kruk, Kruk, and he's the master storyteller. So at Washington Irving's home, they have an outdoor 300-seat outdoor venue where he does his, which is the most, he does them all over, but this is the best place to do it, right down by the water, although that's not a big deal for the evening. In this outdoor venue, the Headless Horseman makes an appearance. And if you want to get a little flavor of Jonathan Kruk, just type Jonathan Kruk, storyteller, Hudson River Valley. And so it's one of these musts if we have a semi-Halloween theme as part of the theme of the itinerary. West Point Military Academy, I think we're all somewhat familiar with that. We'll get a grounds tour of West Park. And Houdini, I've never been, but we have a customer in Tiffin, Ohio, who found this place. And so it's a couple-hour experience. There's a film on Houdini. There's a guided tour of the museum. And the people who own the museum are the magic professionals. So you're gonna get an hour, 45-minute magic show to go along with the Houdini theme as well. So I can't tell you firsthand how it's been. But this lady, another group of ours found it, and it sounds like it's gonna be good times. Before I go, is anybody, now we have a Finger Lakes tour in the spring. Is anybody here for that? Because if you're not, I won't even talk about it. Because it's almost full, the bus, there's 40 people, so we only have 4 more seats, so nobody is Finger Lakes interest. I'll just bypass that, because since Danielle and I spoke, this group from Tiffin added 17 people in the last couple of weeks. So it went from, yeah, other than that, folks, you don't have to sign up now. Take your time, make some decisions, and do you have any questions?
What's the activity level for this one?
Okay, now which one you mean?
Utah.
Utah is 3. Now, Utah is the longest trip we got. You say 3, why is this one 3 and the other one 4? So all the tours that we're doing on Utah, so if we go from riding through the Colorado the Glenwood Canyon on the train, Bryce, all these national parks on a tram or on our bus. Now you'll get off at certain points of these for photo opportunities and stretch your legs and so on. But these tours involve very limited walking, all of the national parks. The Grand Staircase and Capitol Reef is kind of a bus tour all the way through. We have a couple planned stops for rest breaks, lunch, stretching stuff. So Hudson River 4, the rest 3 moderate, 4 a little step up.
Are the same cars, think about the Zephyr,
Yes,
those are touring cars that you can,
Yeah, you're, okay, so that's a good question, because I've been on that Zephyr some time ago, so there's seating down here, but there's also a stairway to get up to the second level, which is, that's where you're gonna get your better views, right? Then there's also, so that's where we'll be. There's also one of those dome cars that everybody fights over, and it's supposed to police itself, which it never happens, because some people get there in the morning and won't move. Which is, but that's not policing itself, right? That's not being fair to your fellow traveler. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I've been on it and it does happen, so, but the seating was,
is where you said will be is window.
yeah, you'll be in coach. So if you haven't traveled by rail, and so the seat is, it's not 1.5 times as wide as that, but it's pretty close. The leg room is a lot. So train, and the windows are big, so for this, scenic part of the 8 hours, it's gonna be scenic almost right out of the get-go when we leave Denver. So they are comfortable. Doing it 30 hours, like we originally did years ago, may not be the most comfortable. And reason, and I don't know why I'm bringing that up, just comparison to why we do it now this way as compared to what we used to do, because some people like it, but the top and the upper and lower bunk is, I mean, I've had knee surgery, we probably, right, that would be, it's not easy to get up on second bunk, so there's reasons why we modify as we go.
Then also, with this facility now, or how would you know if you were taking a bus to the Detroit airport or driving this up?
Well, that's a great question. So I'll give you an example. South Dakota, the first tour we did here was South Dakota. We used to work here years ago. With the group, with travel. Then we got re-involved after some time. So we had 8 people, I believe, 8 or 9 people went to South Dakota, so we picked people up here with a little minivan or a mini something, and took them to the airport. Now, if we get 2 or 3 people, there's the problem. So we're working with Mommy. I don't think they have as active group as you guys do. If Mommy gets 8 people and we get 2 people here, we go to Mommy. That's close enough, we'd ask you to drive. If there are, and here's how I answer, because this question was brought up just in the last presentation we did. What happens if there's only a couple people? So with some of these smaller centers, without boring you with all the details, we used to pick people up 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 5, 7. And it's not the logistics of that, it's the cost. So now with all these transportation costs that have, like these buses, the big highway buses have got up 25 or 30% since COVID. Gas is not the highest it's been ever. So why? So now what I'm saying is Shoreline Tours can't foot that bill. So what we've been doing with people, let's say you folks are the only ones who want to go to Utah, and Mommy doesn't have anybody. And it's gonna cost $500 to get your round trip, or $400 to get your round trip to the airport. We would ask if we would, is it okay? Basically to pay half. And then the people make the call. Because if we have 6 or 7 of those different vehicles all over the place picking up small groups, they all meet in one location, then somebody's gotta pay for that. And it's difficult to put that in the price of these tours initially, because how do you guess at how many people groups are gonna get? We don't know.
So are you also saying then you wouldn't drive yourself?
No, you don't. We'll take care of your transportation to the airport.
Oh.
Unless you wanna do it on your own. Most don't. Because the airport can be a pain.
And then,
Parking, all the things involved with it, with airports. our people are there. A lot of times I'm there in the morning helping out with the flow of traffic in the morning, just to make your airport experience. Is if you go in the airport experience with kind of, try to be, try to be.
Open-minded?
You know, just because there's lines and people are people, and
That's true.
it could be. So we try to make that as less stressful as possible,
So the flights included
correct,
out of Detroit.
yep. Nonstop,
So then if you were to sign up, when do you actually get an itinerary
Yeah,
or
good question.
regular pass?
yeah. So you would register, we don't send any receipts or anything, it all comes from however the registration's done here. We're a small company, so about a month, 3 weeks to a month. We would either come back here and do an orientation, depending on how many people and what kind of, if the leadership wants that. At that time, whether I come back out or not, you get documents in the mail with all your stuff.
In the mail.
Correct. So we would mail to your homes. Yeah, and it would be a brief, but not so brief itinerary of all the little game plan day by day, weather, averages, clothing, and all that kind of stuff, and all the travel tips to kind of help you out.
Can you touch on the weather right now? Or-
Out there, on which trip?
I'm sorry, Utah.
Utah? September would be the best month to go unless it's May. So,
But like
It-
sixties or?
no, it'd be better in the sixties, it'd be, it'd be eighties. High seventies, high 80s, cooler at night. On averages, so that's why we don't do this trip in the summertime. Because summertime could be, you don't wanna be there in summertime. To certain places, now there's some elevations there too that make it more comfortable too with where we are in some of the national parks, so. But September's better September's the best month. So you'll get, so call it, when you get this, it'll be Bryce, let's say Zion National Park. Average daytime, mid-80s, evening, high 60s, something close to that.
So then when you decide to do this, do you come here and pay and sign up and do all that stuff, or where do you do that?
Yeah, so you would, so we're kind of new here. So. Just fill that out. And
Turn it into us, and then we'll contact you with payment, figure out payments.
Way down the road, or?
No, it would be like once we get it entered into the system.
Oh.
Sure.
We are already registered to go, and just to let anybody know, when I had any questions about anything, I contacted the company and by email, and I always got a prompt response from someone named Melissa for any questions I had.
Did you learn anything we should know?
Huh?
which one you signed up for?
Utah,
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
But, so our company is myself, who's out in the trenches here and working with all the retiree centers that I work with, putting these tours together. Melissa takes care of everything behind the scenes. And there's only 2 of us with some accounting help. So she's good, I'll tell her that.
yeah, she was very prompt with it.
Her
responded
mother-in-law
by
worked
email.
for us for years and she's been around 2 or 3 years. Yes. That's,
What class do you fly out on? I'm sure it's not first class, but is it business class, coach? What do you fly in?
coach.
Coach.
So I just flew home with Frontier last night from Florida. So on the way out, we had emergency exit seats, which could be some of the best seats on the plane.
Right.
You're a tall guy,
Labor, yeah.
right? But it's coach, so all these planes and they're all the same, basically the same size. So now, some people do upgrade. And that's where Melissa comes in, if you wanted to upgrade. It's always available. It is available. This one's Delta from Utah.
And for registration, sorry, so when I first started here, there was a mix up with like the checks were being written to us, so that's where my confusion was. But you do pay us when you turn in the form, but the checks are made payable to Shoreline Tours. And that'll say right here, so when you turn in the registration form, you'll turn in, the check with it as well. You turn it into us, but the check is written to Shoreline, yep.
Yeah. Just check it out at the bottom there. There's lots going on in a very small space here. Let's try to be as somewhat not over descriptive, but
How about the departure for the Hudson River Valley? So where do you get picked up for that? Does it?
it all depends on, yeah, so it all depends on numbers, because most of these other groups are from Michigan. Mommy's on board. And there's another group from around here, but they usually they get enough to do on their own. So for now, I would have to answer that question the same way. If we get enough people, we pick up, and if we only get real small numbers, then we would make a proposal that we'll pay for half, you pay for half to get you to the airport, round trip.
Okay, well, this wouldn't.
Sorry,
this wouldn't-
no.
This one's.
Sorry. Sorry about that. We would get you to a place that's convenient. Cause if we got people coming from all over, now working the logistics of this, so it'd be to meet the bus with the majority of people on it. Right now, we've got the majority of our people are signed up in and around Clinton Township, Michigan. I don't know if you know where I mean. Clarkson, Michigan, Troy, Michigan, up in Oakland County kind of area. Right, so we're not gonna get you there. We would meet you somewhere in where we've hooked up on their way out. Right, so they
Just
gotta go.
arrange for somebody to take us, because
Yeah.
they're not gonna leave your car there for.
We
a week,
can.
right?
Well, see that, if we've met groups at or small groups of people at the Wyandotte Plaza on the Turnpike, for example. So we would bring you there. You're not gonna leave your car at Turnpike, right, at the plaza. So we would bring you there. So everybody's kind of trying to be there about the same, sort of the same time.
Right.
And then we use it for a rest break, get a coffee and maybe late breakfast, whatever, and then we keep rolling.
Okay.
So it's so hard to pinpoint that at this stage. And yeah, thank you for the time, folks.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I just get jealous sitting in all these presentations, because I'm like, I wanna go on all these trips.
Yeah, chaperone.
So,
Can't get the center to pay for you.
no, I know.